Are you going to
All
put
right,
this,
Brian, now we're recording. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
this isn't going to go live anywhere, right?
It's not live. It will, if it's okay, I'm going to put it on my YouTube channel, which is my motivational channel. That's why I was talking earlier. And if at any point you want me to stop recording, I can stop recording.
Well, just give me from my good side.
All your sides are good. You stop it. You got your fresh cut. You're looking like.
Cut. Start over. Take two.
Listen, I don't know how to edit. So the best I can tell you is I can put it on there. I cannot put it on there. I can make it private. I don't know how to do that, but I have the capability.
All right. I think.
But sorry. So you were talking about the framework.
So I was saying that within our clinic, within our sports med program here, our jobs have a description, right? But within that description, our employees, our staff, our team have the autonomy to develop that in any direction they want. So we were just talking about, a good case in point. We have one of our PTs, Daryl, who's ex-pro collegiate hockey player, has a personal connection to concussions, as you would imagine. And part of the physical therapy scope of practice is diagnosing, managing, educating, and preventing concussions in our athletes. So he is actually taking it upon himself to take a online, component credentialing course, and being able to add this into our programming here. Not something I would have ever done, but I give him the support and the autonomy to do that, much like we do with the bike fitting, right? There's very few physical therapists across the country that are actually to an efficient, proficient level offering bike fitting within the clinic. A lot of bike shops do, and there's a lot of bike fitters that are standalone operations, but to actually meld together the medical side and the diagnostic side and the rehabilitative side with the bike fitting side, it's kind of outside of the normal box. Another example would be our office manager. Everybody we have here are all athletes. They're all, you can say ex-athletes, but retired or semi-retired or whatever, but we're all still competing. We're all setting goals, and we're all still challenging each other. If you didn't see on our Instagram, we all did the t-shirt handstand t-shirt challenge. Did you see that? Right. So those types of things where we're always challenging each other. Paige, our office manager, is actually getting credentialed to do her certification she's getting for yoga. So she's going to be a yoga instructor. And she, outside of the, the normal expectation of being an office manager, is going to be a contributing part of the treatment side, where we can actually envelop some yoga instruction and, after hours, like yoga classes here with our athletes. So, I mean, things like that, where you create a framework, you say, okay, this is what the job is. This is what the need is. This is what the community demand is. And then how do we put a special sauce on it, right? How do you make it your own? How do you say, okay, we need to at least hit these 4 criteria. But beyond that, like, what, if I'm talking to you, Jeff, and I'm saying, what drives you and what makes you unique? What do you bring to the table? What set of credentials or what passions do you have? And you can dovetail that into the job description. Then that's a win-win for everybody, because now you're doing something you're passionate about. You're doing something that you know a lot about, and you're doing something that there's that supply and demand, that crossover between, like, what people need and what you can deliver. And that's actually, on creating a private practice here. We just had our 7th anniversary. Unfortunately, under quarantine, so we couldn't go to the bar and celebrate and raise a pint glass and have a toast. But part of the impetus for creating what we have here was a blending of cultures, a blending of passions. For me, cycling and endurance medicine and physical therapy and injury prevention and all those things kind of come under one roof. And that's something that I couldn't really completely appreciate working in a larger system. So you know, that what I'm applying to myself and what we do here, and, you know, actually breaking the glass ceiling, kind of pushing through and finding like new avenues and new ways to grow upwards. I apply that to our staff too. You know, there is definitely something to be said about staying in your lane, right? So, you know, within the medical scope or within the physical therapy scope, or if we have a, you know, a PTA or an athletic trainer, they need to, you know, at least know what their scope of practice is and what their credentials are and know what their specialties are. So just because I have a staff member that comes in and they're like, you know, I'm full gas, like really interested in nutrition, it doesn't make them a RD. It doesn't make them a nutritionist. They can go and get educated on it, and they can make these, you know, really educated recommendations to our athletes. But when we start to see things that are like, well, this is definitely the case for a nutritionist to manage this, that's when we take them and we put them in communication with the people within our outreach team.
Yes.
We are definitely one of those physical therapy clinics that plays well with chiropractic, with massage, and we know what their expertise is, and we rely on their expertise to bring that to the table so that everybody's benefiting. There's that saying that all ships rise with the tide, right? So if we have a team in place of nutritionists, orthopedic, you know, non-surgical sports med physicians, chiropractors, massage, strength coach, CrossFit, all these things, you know, cycling coach, triathlon coach, any of these things that come in and have this multifaceted approach to helping our athletes, all the ships rise with the tide. We have an athlete that's thriving, that's succeeding, that's passionate, that's sharing their passion, that's doing great things in the world. Everybody benefits from that. And that's really trying to create that framework so that people at least know, okay, what the expectation is, so that they know they can check those boxes, but then run with it.
And that was extremely evident. And that's part of the reason why I've always felt very comfortable, is because that is the outcomes. If I have a specific agenda, like in without the understanding that that's kind of like a minimum, like you said, like that's the framework minimum. Like, okay, so my athlete's going to get back to being able to do golfing, be able to golf without pain.
Yep.
Now, if through all the stuff we do, they end up saying, hey, you know what? You know, I'm gonna check my diet because I think, you know, losing weight will help make it easier on here. And that, so if I just say, okay, if the outcome has to be this, I think that limits the potential of growth. And I've kind of always thought that way, and I'm much more collaborative. And I think that's why I liked what especially you were just very transparent and authentic with, is I'm not my way or the highway. I'm like, hey, the ultimate goal is to help the person. Now, I have an idea of, well, I think this is possibly going to help, but you're also open-minded enough and honest to say, well, I'm pretty sure that this is what I'm thinking. First of all, I'm going to send it to ask somebody else, because it's always good to get a second opinion. And also because you understood, you surrounded yourself with amazing people from the outset.
Yep.
Who only made you better, and then, you know, still had the same ideals. And, you know, even if the scope was a little bit different, you were like, that's only going to make me better. Instead of, we all know how to make bread. Okay, let's only make bread. Not just this kind of bread, no other breads. There is something for that. That's great. And I understand that. If that's what your passion is, and that's what the framework is. My framework has never been that. My framework is much more, what's the ultimate goal? The ultimate goal is for somebody to add value to somebody's life. That's my ultimate goal, which that was your ultimate goal. Not just the athlete, but also the person you're training, your staff. It doesn't matter what level staff it is. I think that's something that I've always valued about you, and very, very much grateful and appreciative that I was able to be around that because I was aware that it was unusual that you wanted to include people that were not in a direct medical profession into your medical talks. And that's why I try to come over as often as I could, because I was aware of, yes, your scope of expertise, you have to stay in that lane, but it's also, it's okay to not be like a nice English lane. Like it's okay to widen that sucker and be like, yeah, it's an 8-lane highway. It's pretty good. Like this is awesome. And, but that comes from wanting more out of yourself, I think. And like yes, you challenge your staff, but it's because it's a by nature thing. You challenge yourself. You want to be better. You don't, just because you reached some plateau, it's not like, oh, game over. We're done. We're done playing. Gonna grab my ball, go home. There's no real end game. You're more like Simon Sinek talks about, which is the finite game. You're more playing like, this is my life. This is, it's you. But within that, what's so cool is you have the finite games of, okay, I also race. You're a competitive racer. You understand like what goal setting is for specific reasons, as opposed to, hey, you want to be an athlete. Well, you can only be an athlete if you're directly involved in sports at this time, because this is what it says, the box says, and like that. You realized, well, yeah, I'm an age. Does that mean I don't get to play stuff I like to do? No. Like I'm the one that dictates. Now, can I play it the same way in the same fervor? And well, no, because I have family, I have business, my body doesn't bounce off the ground as easily. Like there's lots of different things, but you're adaptable. I think that's a huge quality that I don't know if, because it's so naturally ingrained in part of you, I don't think you sit there and go, wow, I'm so adaptable. That's so awesome of me. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
But that's part of the reason why I'm doing these and wanting to record, because I've been blessed way more than I probably deserve, which is cool. Like I've been graced with the presence of amazing, amazing people. Now, I'm a lot less shocked that the people I'm friends with have such amazing qualities and are so oomph. I know it's, once again, this is why I don't do interviewing as a job necessarily, like the traditional way. And that's why these are just conversations, because I've had enough conversations with you to know that that's just your natural state. Your natural state is like problem solving. It's like you get kind of geeked out with like, yeah, let's like, and it's okay if it wasn't your idea. Right. That's not what you're wrapped up in. And if it's a good idea, you're like, new people, come into my office and talk to people.
Right.
Because the ego is removed. And I think that's one of the things that, especially as I was getting more ego invested, which I didn't realize I was doing, because it was all like, I've got to make this successful. Well, that's terrifying. If I'm the smartest person in a room, more than one person, I should get in a different room. But that's why I would always, as often as I could, take advantage of being around that. And, that is such a quality that I know I've heard your staff tell me, and your clients have told me, your athletes have told me, that's part of the reason why the first thing I would say, if anybody had anything, I'd be like, you need to go next door.
Yeah.
I can tell, I'm okay with movement. And part of the reason I'm with movement is because I've been over there enough and they've explained things to me, and I'm not a full idiot. But you're past what I'm talking about. Just, you should talk to them, because your why came through with everything you did. And that is one thing that I did not do very well, because like I said, I didn't set it up appropriately, because it wasn't my business to try to change. So probably shouldn't have done that. And so that's why I'm super excited for my next venture, which is interesting, because I was terrified to even do anything. I was like, I just want to work for somebody and not have any authority.
Yeah.
Because in the situation I was in, innovation and creativity, not only was the framework not really in place, it wasn't supported. But that's because it wasn't the vision of everybody. And so, you know, by having everybody go home and be quarantined and be, you know, like the whole separation and the status quo is kind of no longer a real thing, because that new norm thing, everybody's like, the fact our kids are going to know what social distancing is, and our kids are going to know what mitigation means. And you know what I mean? Like, that's reality. They're going to say, hey, do you remember last year, 2020? Or, you know, or BC means before Corona now. Forget Latin, it's before Corona, you know?
Right.
But that's what it is. And because I had been working on recentering myself and getting more in tune with that and being adaptable, which is, I'm extremely empathetic, and like, I've never been a high level athlete. I'm never going to be a high level athlete. I'm aware of that. I'm a high level coach because I would sit there and study and find out and ask people and do all the stuff I wouldn't do to be an athlete, I would do as a coach. So that's how it was a pretty easy transition for me to understand, yes, I am a high level coach, and that's the way I need to kind of focus. And it's funny, I work out more now that I don't own a gym. Because but I also don't set a timer. Like, well, I set a timer, but only to find out the time. I don't do 3, 2, 1, go, because I realized that's where elite people, that's the button, that's the switch. Yeah, I don't have that. Mine goes to, why the hell am I doing CrossFit? This whole thing sucks. Why am I working out? I shouldn't have eaten that for the last 3 days. And instead of, yeah, let's go, and then enjoy the process. Very few times have I been in the middle of a workout, or let's be honest, within a minute of the end of the workout, and thought, oh man, this is sweet. Like, I'm so grateful I get to be here. That's adorable. It's never crossed my mind. It's never crossed my mind. Like, I have many cuss words, and like I said, I berate anybody and everything. And then until I go, unless it's a long one, because then I just giggle and I know I'm not so bad. And then I look at people and I'm like, come on, everybody, who wants to sing? And you can see the elite people, because they get mad at me. And the people who are more like me are like, yeah, sing me a song, like, make me forget whatever. And so, but I think I wanted to take the opportunity and the time, because of all this situation, to reach out to the people who have impacted me in such a great way, that when regular normal days are happening, we don't allow ourselves that opportunity. We don't allow ourselves, 40 minutes to just sit in a room and not be productive. Especially, because you have responsibilities, you have this, that, and the other thing. And I think we get caught up in that, the process. Like, the process is really the destination. Because I sit there, and I was wanted to be such a good gym owner and wanted to be successful in this and that. And, like, I remember answering like, well, because I want to be a good provider for my kids. Really? Because you don't even know that your daughter's struggling in school because you're never home talking to her. And I'd be like, oh, that hurts. That's true. Okay. Or, when's the last time your son asked to do anything with you because now he's a teenager, and all the times that you asked him to do something, you said, wait, or, well, how about later, or in a minute, and then you would forget and you'd get distracted. And then what does he think? He just says, well, I'm not going to ask dad because he's never going to say yes. And those are the situations I dealt with when I left CFN, that were such a blessing, because yes, I'm not any different internally than I was beforehand, but I'm much more selective. Like you said, my framework, I'm more disciplined with my framework of understanding. If I'm supposed to help my daughter with schoolwork in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to be there. Something as simple as being on time for something. Mm-hmm. And I know it sounds and I used to make excuses, even though every time I was late for anything, I'd feel guilty and I'd get anxiety about being late, all kinds of weird stuff. It just tells the other person they're not important enough to adhere to the agreement you made. I mean, it's something as simple as that. And so this morning, Allison was cutting my hair, which she likes to do, and I'm like, oh, great, because then I don't
Really
have
good, by the way.
Thank you. And she did a good job. I try to fade it up a little bit, but she did the good main part. And I was late, and instead of immediately going, oh, well, I'm really sorry, because that is disrespectful. And most people are going to be like, oh, no, it's fine. And you're like, well, no, it's not to me, because that's not how I feel towards you. That's not how it's just like when you snap at somebody, right? Especially like for me, like with my kids, because at some points, like I've been with them, I know, and I'm going, like, as I'm being an angry, loud dad, going, what is wrong with you? Within like a couple minutes, I'm really good about going back to him and saying, hey, you know what? That was random, and I'm sorry, and not acceptable, and I apologize, because that was just rude, and that's not what, but it's still, if I don't change my actions to match my beliefs, the other will take place. And that's what had happened to me, is a lot of my beliefs had changed. Like, I believed it was okay to be at work all day, all times, when anybody needed me. So that's what I needed to do to be successful, because that's what I saw my dad do when he was younger. And really, it's the people who won't respect me for having boundaries or respecting myself are not people I want to be around anyway. Sure. Are not going to add value to my life. And so I'm like, oh, and I think hopefully this, whatever this is, this, quarantine and this paradigm shift really will stick for some people, in that's my hope, that people will be more disciplined in listen, this is what I believe, and I'm going to live with that belief, because you do that. And like, and you're successful at it, and you're rewarded for it. Not just, what I like is your friendships and your just relationships with people that are deep-seated, are meaningful to you, even if they haven't, I mean, a lot of your friends have been your friends for a long time, but you know what I mean? Like, you let me in that category relatively quick. And it, it wasn't, I don't think it was because I'm such an amazing, sweet, wonderful person. I mean, obviously part of that was some of it, but it was, you were like, yep, fits the criteria. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it definitely has, part of it is because you are part unicorn.
You saw that?
I mean, who doesn't want a little magic, right?
This is what I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, that's huge. And like I said, when you reached out to me, I know I told you how much I appreciated it. And then I came, and then that one day, I felt so grateful. I was just able there to be a hug for you, even for 2 minutes, because you were having a day,
Oh yeah, that was not a red letter day for me.
that was like, that was a burn this shirt that I'm wearing kind of day for you. You're like, I'll tell you what up, unicorn. Like, but I felt so grateful that I was able just to give you 2 minutes of anything. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what you mean to me. And that's what you mean to so many people. Like, it's so cool to watch that. And because you're not how wonderful am I? Because you're not like that, I don't think you sit there and take stock of it. Mm-hmm. And I would encourage you maybe sometimes to do that, because once again, you're married, so it's not like she's going to let your head get too big anyway. And you have daughters. So I'm not worried. I'm not worried about, you'll be fine. You'll be right-sized quick enough if you start getting outside. But I think that's important, because I know part of your goal is you care for people deeply.
Yeah.
And everything you do and say matches that. So you really do the golden circle of your why, how, and then your what. So you're a physical therapist, sports med doctor, because it allows you to do your why. So that's just like, I care for people. I want to help them. I want to incorporate health benefits. I want to make them better. I want them to reach their goals. I do that by, I constantly want to learn. I put smart people around me. I study, I train, I push myself. And how I do that is I have a practice and I do sports medicine. Like, that's kind of how you do it. And that is awesome. That's why you were able to be successful for 7 years. That's why people are drawn to you. I mean, yes, it's probably because you're devilishly handsome as well. And now you're even more, a little bit, like sophisticated now that you got some grays. Just a few. There's still a lot of pepper. It's mainly pepper. But that's such a gift that you bring all the time that I don't, because of your personality, I know you're not going to sit there and be like, well, you're welcome for coming. You're welcome for existing. Like, I know that's not your jam. But what I would hope, and that's one of these things I'm trying to do with reaching out to people is, first of all, the reason I put it on my mindset self-development, it's hopefully somebody watches it, listens, and hears you and goes, oh man, because I've gotten so much out of my connection with you. I want to share that with everybody. And so that's why, like, people are going, okay, I don't mind talking to you, dude, but like, why are you going to record it? And this and that. And I'm like, that's why I don't really have set questions. Because our conversations, that's what's made an impact on my life. And you get people who are successful financially or whatever. There's certain things they all do, and their why. Gus, baby boy. If anybody has not met this dog, you literally you should feel sadness. Oh, where's the Gus? Oh, where's Gus? I miss you. Such a good dog.
Yep.
I love the pictures of the girls laying on him just quarantined.
I was a golden retriever in a previous life.
Oh, for sure.
He's a majestic beast.
He is look at that. Mm-hmm. He's like, I should be on money.
Yep. Get my good side.
All of his sides are good side. Look at that.
And he's an official therapy dog now too.
He's official now?
Yeah.
Who's the baby?
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Well, I appreciate everything you're saying. And I will say, when you get to a point where you feel that you understand what your purpose is, right? And you understand even in life, staying in a lane to an extent, right? Like knowing what you're good at and, really trying to bring that to society, right? Try to bring it to at least your community, working locally. I definitely adhere to a couple of principles, and you're talking about, the golden circle and stuff like that. But I mentioned it earlier, all ships rise with the tide. I'm a firm believer of that. Another one that always comes to mind is, starve the ego, feed the soul. And, when you can get your ego out of the way and and really kind of just, work from your heart. And I tell these guys all the time, right? There's times where patients get frustrated, either because of our schedule's not available or because of a billing issue, or, there could be something, right? Maybe we're closed because of a power outage or whatever, and people get frustrated.
Or
quarantine, right? Now we have to do video conferencing instead of actually treating. At the end of the day, if you're acting out of the best interests of the community, and you're acting from your heart, you can't let the negative energy in, right? Somebody can be frustrated about it, but it's like, hey, listen, like, we're 100% doing the best we can. I understand it's frustrating. We just ask you to be patient. And, so ultimately, that gives, and when we have that throughout all of our team here, everybody is leading by example, and they all have some level of ownership in this process. And that really does, like you were saying earlier, if you tell someone, okay, this is the job I need you to do, this is how I want you to do it, and then you're micromanaging that, there's no empowerment there. And I think, if anybody's followed any of the culture that Ari Weinzig from Zingerman's Deli, down in Ann Arbor, what they've developed there, and one of the take-home messages, I've taken a couple courses through their what they call Zing training, and it's all about customer service. And one of the biggest take-home messages that he delivered in the first few minutes of one of the lectures was from the GM of Zingerman's Deli down to the busboy or the server or whoever. Everybody in that institution has the power and the autonomy to make a decision to make the customer experience the best it can be. So the example was that, a busboy over here, somebody, cutting into their food saying, well, this is underdone and I don't like, this isn't really how I wanted it. He hears that, he can step in or bring somebody in and say, like, let's make this right. What can we do to make this right for you?
Which is huge.
Right? And so, and they can say, you know what, I'm gonna take care of this. We're gonna bring you a fresh one, and your bill is comped, right? Or, we'll bring you a dessert. We'll do this, whatever. You compare that, or you contrast it to somebody saying like, oh, really? Well, that's it's how it should be done, right? Like, why don't you like it? You should eat it.
Yeah.
You eat the cat poop.
You eat the cat poop.
Mr. Burgundy.
Put it in your mouth. Just touch it. Touch it to your tongue.
So, or they take no ownership for it, and they're like, well, let me go talk to my manager and see what we can do. And then they come back 10 minutes later while you're sitting there and your food's getting cold, right? So there's no ownership there. There's no value of, let's make this customer's experience the best it can be. Nobody expects perfection, but what they do expect is some level of ownership. And if you're not giving any ownership to your team, then they're always waiting around like, well, let's just see what the boss says, right? Now there are some times where maybe we don't have the answers, right?
Yeah.
And there's times I don't have the answer, and I'll just say, hey, listen, you guys, what should we do with this? Here we are in a pandemic. Governor says that we can remain open. We can continue to treat because we're a healthcare facility. Well, that's great, but is that really the best interest of our community? Is it the best interest of our health? Is it in the best interest of our family's health? I mean, almost everybody that works here has kids or has family that they're living with. So you really have to take that into consideration. Then we make a democratic decision to, close the doors to patient care for now. And that shows, a level of responsibility and care for each other. And it continues to, speak volumes. So, yeah. So, I mean, I would just say that that's an example. But yeah, the all ships rise with the tide. Starve the ego, right? Feed the soul. And then, yeah, I mean, kind of like what you're doing too. It's, you're starting out into something new. You have a vision, you have a certain set of expertise and things that you want to share, and you lead with your heart, and you lead with what you feel is right. And, at that point, then the rest will follow. So,
yeah, it's just funny because you, you are stereotypical golden circle opposed to, listen, they said we can stay open. We're staying open.
mm-hmm.
And like you said, you even said, what we asked the staff, you're sole proprietor. You don't have to ask the staff anything, but that's because that is just not even in your DNA. You're like, no, but I have to. But that's one of the reasons why you also say, I know you don't sit there and go, man, I'm a buffet of sexiness, because you're just like, this is just what you do. You're just all your actions and your decisions and your mannerisms are based on your why and your purpose. And so because your actions your actions are a physical representation of your beliefs. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And I think the authenticity, even some people who are, you also present information pretty well. Like you're also genuinely nice and great sense of humor and stuff like that. And there's people who are as much in tune with their why. They don't necessarily present the information as much, but I can still appreciate them because it's just genuine, right? You understand, no, they're curmudgeon, but they like, where you stand, the belief system, what you're getting. And it's almost like I would rather do business or rather be around people who 100% I understand where they're coming from. And I know like any situation happens, they're going to do what they believe, as opposed to the ones who are like, well, I'm going to believe this right now, or I'm going to do this now, or I'm going to say this and then do this, and I think it's cool because like I felt very honored. That's the word. That's what I kept forgetting. I felt very honored. Like when you let me coach the girls, because that's a big deal. Like I know some people are just, give their kids away. They're like, just take the kids, do whatever, like babysit them. It's fine. But you understand the intrinsic value, and you value your kids. Like you value their personalities. You value how, I think is it the oldest one? Which one's the tough one?
What's that? Which one's which?
Tough.
Yeah. So Abby's maybe are a little bit more of our
challenging.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Lily's full energy, and
she'll just go. She'll just like, let's go. But yeah. But what I like about that is that's what's going to make her an amazing adult. Do you know what I mean? Because she's like, I don't think I'm going to take anything you say. So that's what we're not going to do. What you say. Just same with Allison. She's like, as long as I can survive her getting to 18, I'm pretty confident life's going to be good for her. But I just have to figure out how to make it.
Just get there.
Yep. Just get there. And so I like that because, like I said, I think by you fostering that, because once again, I don't know if that's your jam, but that's so uplifting for people that, because I like being from a psychologist standpoint, there's such a variety of personalities who work with you. But it's not even any type of friction at all, because it's that ownership. It's the empowerment. Like you said, like totally. I love that you knew. You're like, well, yeah, like you said, well, you have to. And then you're like, no, you don't. But that's one of the things I tried to do is I wanted to do that, but I wasn't as clear cut with mine. And I also was in a bad situation because that wasn't what was agreed upon from the beginning. So, but that's what I want to do with my new ventures and stuff. And no matter what, like what I want to do with the kids is when they want to have conversations, I'm almost become yes man. Did you ever see that movie?
Yeah.
So I've only seen parts of the movie, but pretty much since November, my kids will ask me anything, and I'm like, yep. And it's funny because Jacob, I can see that he's doing it almost as a test. Like he doesn't even really want to right now, but he'll go, let's go watch this show. And I'll be like, yep. He's like freaked out, like, no, we're cool. You go ahead, Dad. Go ahead and do something else. Like, or because, and Allison will sometimes, because for so long she would say, do you want to go play? Do you want to go play? And I would always have busy reasons. And once again, it's like, you can make more money. You can make more friends. You can't make more time. And I was like, oh, that sucks. Okay. So when she said, hey, Dad, you want to go on the trampoline? I was coming up the stairs, getting ready to work. I went, yes. And then she taught me how to do a front flip.
Whoa.
And I'm like, wow. But once again, if I'm not available for those opportunities, they won't present themselves, or they will, and I'll just miss them.
Right.
And so hopefully this pandemic is going to give people that, at least some people. Sometimes the longer this goes on, the more my hope wanes a little bit when you see people saying, yeah, social distancing, as I'm right next to 17 people without masks on and handing candy to kids, whatever. Like, because realistically, like that's what I want. I did want to ask you questions, because I wrote down questions because you asked me, not necessarily wanted me to, but you were like, So my questions I had were how you're approaching quarantine, but you already answered that. Shocking, because it's a conversation. And it was, in what way or ways has this current situation changed how you'll approach working or life when quarantine is over? Because you are fairly, don't go crazy, fairly intellectual, and I mean, you're probably almost in the triple digits IQ, maybe. I mean, maybe like 90.
Well, that would mean something to me if I knew what an IQ was, right?
Ooh,
I
ow!
don't even know what that even means.
That's why your self-deprecation knows no bounds, and that's what makes me so close to you too. But no, seriously, like because I know you've given it thought, because like I said, you're not only this moment in time focused, you're aware of the complexity of not just of being a dad, of being a human, of being a part of. So what are some ways maybe this is going to affect, or that you can foresee it affecting, or have you come up with any game plans where things may be different? Because I just talked to, do you remember Melanie? I don't know if you met Melanie. I think you did. Melanie Davis?
Yeah.
So she had COVID-19 real bad. And then her husband got it at her 8th day. And then their 20-year-old daughter had it really bad for 10 days.
Yeah. That's kind of how it progresses, right?
Yeah. And her husband, they thought he was going to, because he has asthma. So he was having real bad breathing stuff. And so I just interviewed her earlier this morning because I wanted to just, get what's her point of view, because most people shouldn't, but don't go through life-changing events without hopefully changing their life or changing the way they think. So what ways has this maybe prompted your thought processes?
Yeah, good question. So, I mean, I think the gist of your question is like, how will this change our business operations or even our life operations coming out of a pandemic and a stay-at-home order and the kind of that fear that kind of affects our society surrounding a viral outbreak. Honestly, like we've been through a couple different scenarios over our lifetime. You and I are the same age, and you think about some of the market corrections. You think about wartime. You think about our parents were involved in, at least mine, in Vietnam War, and our grandparents in the World War II and Korean War. There was a time in our young ages with the oil issues with getting gas, cars lined up around the block to get gas.
81.
Yeah, you think about the things that maybe didn't directly affect us, but that are in the history books, where there have been situations like this. I think to say that we have all the answers, to know how life is going to be, what did you say, BC, right? BC versus
before
2.0.
Corona. Yep.
Yeah. Versus after. I think I would be skeptical if anybody sat down and said, well, so this is how it's going to be, and this is how we're going to do it, and we're changing all this, and this is like, I've got all the answers, follow me. And they Pied Piper and pour the Kool-Aid, right?
I liked all those analogies. Those are all good.
Yeah. I think that's the hardest thing, is because I do think through a lot of this stuff, and I do have a vision, and I share the vision with our team. The problem is, like, for a while, for the first few weeks, it was a bit of a free fall, right? We didn't really know what was happening and for how long, and like, is this a new normal? How long is this going to be 2 weeks? And then everything's okay and the sun comes out, or is it going to be a month? Is it going to be 2 months? Are the kids going back to school? Will we go on spring break? Like, there were so many things that we just didn't know. And I still feel like we're in that. We're kind of in this constant state of unknowing. So that's my indirect way of answering your question, saying that I don't really know what this is going to hold for us, because, come May 1st, if the governor says, okay, stay-at-home order has been lifted, go be safe, limit your contact as much as you can. We will approve for restaurants to open. We'll approve for everybody to go out and do whatever. Like, that's all great. But but it also, there's so much fear and there's so much, there's still the potential for spread. Although as we hit the warmer months and stuff like that, the viruses don't tend to propagate as well. That's why flu season's usually in the wintertime, and it's hitting the colder temps worse. But we open our doors and, who knows who's going to actually show up, right? Who's going to, come through the door, who's going to actually say, you know what, we're actually good with doing some of the video education and stuff like that. So let's just stick with that versus, I'm going to take my kid and we're going to go out into public and we're going to come into your clinic and we're going to do all this stuff. And then does everyone wear masks now? PPE? Do we wear eye shields? Do we wear scrubs? Or is it, business as usual as before? We don't have any of these answers. And I think, again, that answer will evolve. We don't even know if May 1st is really a new date or if it's going to get pushed back. And then there's the whole economic side of things, right? That is a hot topic. And, the unemployment is, kind of at a record high right now, right? And they're trying to correct that. They're trying to have employers reemploy their people, which to that point, our team is intact here. Some of our hourly kind of part-time workers are on furlough right now, just because there's really nothing for them to do. But our clinical staff and then Paige as an office manager, we were all intact and working from home. But how long can that sustain, right?
Yeah.
And there was something that I read yesterday that talks about a lot of people feel like, hey, we're all in the same boat, right? No, we're all weathering a very similar storm, but we're in different boats. And some people are actually at home on unemployment making more money than they have ever made in their life. Other people are losing their asses and losing jobs, or businesses are closing, or and we're all, there's PT clinics, there's PT small ownership clinics like what I have that are still seeing 25 patients a week, multiple visits, and that is their choice, and that is how they're managing it to the best of their ability. We are managing to the best of our ability. And at the end of the day, you need to be able to, see yourself in the mirror and be happy with what you see. And at the end of the day, you have to be able to sleep at night. So, everybody's lens that they see this through is different. And, when we have a weekly meeting with our staff, and, just this past week, I said, listen, I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I don't know what our plan is going to be as far as reopening. Is it going to be a soft reopen? Is it going to be a 1 patient per hour with time in between to, do a full, cleanup? I don't really have a plan in place. I don't know if anybody does, but we're working on it. And I'm asking them individually, one-on-one, what do you envision as the return to work, right? What are you comfortable with? What do you?
Because everybody's lens is different.
Yeah.
I like that.
And then we kind of compile all that and we'll talk about it and we'll come up with a plan. So I do think there's going to be some level of more of the telemetry education and treatment. I do think it's going to be a soft reopening for most businesses, including restaurants and other stores. Who knows what the future holds for malls? Who knows what the future holds for, massive
sporting events,
events and concerts. I think I read somewhere that all concerts for 2020 are canceled. I don't know if that's true. I don't want to spread bad information, but
I know I was watching all the people who had concerts in Detroit were all canceling.
Yeah. So who knows, the Tour de France is pushed back 2 or 3 months, and whether that'll even go on. Tokyo Olympics.
The Olympics, 2021.
Yeah. So it's to say it's unprecedented is almost like it doesn't even do it service.
Justice.
Yeah, justice. Yeah. So and we are all not in the same boat, but we are all in the same storm. So just doing the best we can.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. I love that because it goes back to the all ships rise with the tide, but we're all in different ships, and that's okay.
Yep.
But we're in the same water, so like.
Well, and maybe I know that if anybody has watched this long, kudos, right? If they're staying on for the full hour. But I would maybe end with one last quote, and this is from the first time I heard it was last year at our anniversary party with one of my friends, Brian Russ, and he was giving a toast, and he was talking about having the strength, the fortitude, the vision to actually reach out. For me, it was 6 years ago at that point, to start a private practice, and for someone like you, Jeff, to start something new and innovative. And his quote was, and let me make sure I get this right. All right, I'm going to read it actually so I don't mess it up.
That's fine.
A ship in the harbor is safe, but that is not what ships are built for. So when you think about like what a ship is designed to do, and to go out and to adventure and to see the world, when you're in the harbor, you're protected from all the heaviness of what the seas might bring you. But that's not what the ship is designed for. And for you, like, you're built for greatness, right? So you have to, take your strengths and, at some point stand at the helm, get out of port, and not be too afraid of what those raging seas might bring you.
I like that. Because that's the one that's in your office, isn't it?
It will be, yeah.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah,
so say it again. Say that again. You know what? No, text it to me, because then I could just keep it. I like that.
Hold on one second. I'm going to do you one better.
Okay.
Hold, please.
Yes, you betcha.
All right, so I'm going to get creative with you here, and I'm going to go boom, and boom, and boom.
Yeah.
Hold on. There we go.
That's awesome.
There you go. You can see that?
Yeah, I can. I can. Love it.
So, a ship in the harbor is safe, but that is not what ships are built for. So, John Shedd. I think this is actually in Chicago, in one of the Hancock building. It's either Hancock or Sears. At the bottom, where you can do like the little tour, and you can go up and do the tour up top too in the building. And John Shedd, that quote is right there, and that's, I think, one of the first times I've seen that too. But yeah, so take that.
That's awesome. I appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, you have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday.
You too, sir.
And tell the family I said hi. Tell Paige I said hi, and give that dog some loving.
All right, always.
Bye, buddy.
Yeah, you take care. It's good. Good